Dark Island. When a winter storm washes up a teenager's 17-year-old remains on the Orkney Islands, a neurodivergent reporter dives into the investigation, unraveling a chilling web of lies and long-buried truths within the isolated community. Act 1. A return home, a prologue of fate and a step into the abyss. Our protagonist, Freya Sinclair, is a fascinating and multifaceted character, far from your typical detective. She's a woman at a crossroads in life, a former highly gifted reporter from bustling Glasgow who deliberately walked away from a brilliant career at a prestigious newspaper. Her decision to return home, to her seemingly peaceful and quiet native Orkney Islands, isn't just driven by a desire for tranquility or to mend her somewhat strained relationship with her husband Tom. It runs much deeper. Freya is on a profound personal quest. She's undergoing diagnosis for autism, and this anticipation, these reflections on her neurodiversity, are an integral part of her inner world. Her unique way of perceiving information, her ability to notice tiny details and build unconventional logical connections. These aren't just character traits, they're her essence, sometimes complicating social interactions, but simultaneously making her brilliant at unraveling the most complex puzzles. Freya dreams of a quiet, measured life where her mind might finally find peace amidst the endless sea and ancient hills. But her dream shatters almost the moment she steps foot on her native soil. A brutal winter storm, a common occurrence in these northern latitudes, this time brings more than just bad weather. Its fierce, relentless power literally tears open the veil of time, exposing a horrifying secret. On a wild, wind-battered beach near the legendary Neolithic settlement of Skara Brae, a place where Scotland's history stretches back millennia, the waves disgorge human remains. This isn't just an archaeological find. These are the bones of a teenager who mysteriously vanished a full 17 years ago. And most significantly, this teenager disappeared when Freya herself was still a schoolgirl on these islands, an event that left a deep scar on the memory of the entire community. This discovery is like an explosion. It reopens old, long-buried wounds, pulling to the surface unspoken fears and a dark truth that many on Orkney desperately tried to keep buried under layers of time and indifference. Act 2. A journalistic crusade in the depths of Freya's personal struggle. As a reporter to her very core, Freya Sinclair simply cannot stand by. She takes a job at the local newspaper, The Orcadian, which gives her not just employment but an official reason to dive into the investigation. Her journalistic instinct becomes her sharpest weapon. Thanks to her neurodivergent perception, Freya sees what others miss, tiny details that seem insignificant but are crucial, subtle connections between seemingly unrelated events, minute inconsistencies and testimonies that expose hidden lies. Her mind works differently, allowing her to build unconventional but remarkably accurate chains of reasoning. This is both her greatest asset, enabling her to untangle the most complex puzzles, and a source of friction with colleagues and official investigators. Some find her obsessive, others simply odd, failing to grasp the depth of her analytical abilities. Freya works under Jill, an experienced but somewhat cynical and skeptical editor. Initially, Jill views Freya with a degree of distrust, but gradually comes to recognize her unique talent. At the same time, Freya has her insider, her godfather, Inspector Fergus Muir. He's a seasoned police officer, weary of routine, but with an open mind that allows him to appreciate Freya's unconventional approach. Their collaboration is key. It allows Freya to access information unavailable to other journalists, and Muir to see the case from a completely different angle, thanks to Freya's intuition and analytical skills. They form a duo that, despite personal and professional differences, proves remarkably effective. The deeper Freya delves into the case, the more she uncovers a horrifying truth. The teenager's disappearance 17 years ago wasn't just a tragic accident or an isolated crime. It's merely a tiny thread leading to a much larger, sinister web of deceit, cover-ups, violence, and perhaps systemic abuse that has enveloped the entire Orkney community. It seems almost everyone on the island has a secret, and some of these secrets are deadly, protected by silence and fear. Parallel to the gripping detective plot, the novel deeply explores Freya's personal struggles. Her internal battle with accepting her neurodiversity is one of the central elements of the book. She constantly grapples with feeling different, with difficulties understanding unspoken social rules and others' emotional reactions, and with intense, sometimes uncontrollable, emotional responses. Awaiting the results of her autism diagnosis feels like a sword of Damocles. It might give her answers to many questions about herself, but also forever solidify her sense of being distinct from others. This creates a constant internal tension. These inner conflicts not only add immense depth to her character, making her one of the most compelling protagonists in contemporary detective fiction, but also impact her work and personal relationships, especially with her husband Tom. As a loyal partner, he tries to support her but often struggles to fully grasp her unique inner world, creating a subtle yet palpable emotional distance and mutual misunderstandings between them. This personal drama adds psychological depth and realism to the novel. Act 3. The Island's Dark Side and a Deadly Game of Survival. The investigation leads Freya into the darkest corners of the Orkney Islands past. She encounters a whole gallery of suspects and witnesses: farmers, fishermen, local business owners, officials. Each one, it seems, harbors their own skeletons in the closet, their own secrets, and their own often dark motives. A pervasive sense of paranoia and distrust permeates the entire community. Freya confronts people who act strangely, are overtly hostile, and some who may be lethally dangerous. She begins to realize that some locals know far more than they're letting on, and are willing to go to extreme lengths to bury a truth that could ruin their lives or reputations. With each new secret uncovered, each new fact Freya brings to light, she realizes she's not just doing her job. She's putting not only her career but her own life and the lives of those she loves at stake. She becomes a direct target for the real killer, who seems to lurk in the shadows, watching her every move, ready to strike when Freya gets too close to the truth. The novel's atmosphere grows increasingly oppressive, somber, and tense. The short, dimly lit winter days on Orkney, the biting, bone-chilling wind, the constant rain, and the pervasive sense of deep isolation all create a perfect, claustrophobic backdrop for a psychological thriller. Nature here isn't just scenery. It's an active participant in the events, emphasizing the desperation and danger. Freya's obsession with the investigation, her irresistible drive for truth, transforms into a perilous cat-and-mouse game where her own life is on the line. She must overcome not only external obstacles, lies, masterful concealment of evidence, overt hostility, and psychological pressure, but also her own fears, doubts, and inner demons. She balances on a knife's edge, realizing that any step could be her last, and that in this remote corner of the world, help might simply not arrive. Act 4. The Climax. Breaking through the darkness and the bitter truth. The investigation, which began with ancient bones on a beach, gradually, step by step, leads Freya to a horrifying systemic conspiracy that seems to permeate the entire Orkney community. She discovers that the teenager's disappearance 17 years ago was just a tiny part of a much larger, uglier, and more sinister evil. There are other victims, other hidden crimes, perhaps an entire series of events that have been masterfully disguised and buried for decades under layers of silence and fear. Freya realizes she has unearthed something far deeper than just a murder. It's a systemic cover-up that has been fiercely protected. The novel's climax is an explosion of emotions, tension, and shocking revelations. Thanks to her unique abilities, sharp analytical mind, incredible intuition, and relentless persistence, Freya finally closes in on the identity of the true killer and grasps the terrifying scale of their crimes. She is forced to make an incredibly difficult moral choice. Should she reveal the entire truth, even if it leads to devastating consequences for the entire community, shatters the lives of many families, and jeopardizes her own life and the lives of her loved ones? Or is it better to leave some secrets buried to preserve some semblance of artificial peace? This choice isn't just a dilemma, it's a psychological ordeal that could break even the strongest spirit. The resolution is simultaneously tense, unexpected yet logical, and utterly shocking. It uncovers horrifying details that have been hidden from public view for a very long time, protected by a web of lies and influence. This ending shows how easily evil can thrive under the cloak of silence, fear, and apparent tranquility in isolated communities, and how crucial it is to have the courage to expose it, regardless of personal risks. Freya, despite her vulnerabilities, proves to be a true beacon of truth in the darkness. Why Dark Island is a masterpiece that will leave you speechless. An immersive atmosphere from the first pages. Daniel Aubrey isn't just a storyteller, he's a master of atmosphere. He doesn't just describe the Orkney Islands, he makes them a living, breathing character. You can almost feel the salty wind on your face, hear the cries of the gulls over the churning sea, see the mysterious ancient megaliths, and the gloomy isolated farms. This masterful use of setting to amplify tension, claustrophobia, and a sense of despair is true art. A deep psychological exploration. The portrayal of Freya as a neurodivergent individual is one of the strongest and most compelling aspects of the book. Her unique perspective on the world, her struggles with social norms, and her internal emotional battles allow the reader to view the detective genre in a new light. This isn't just a detective story. It's a tale of self-discovery, self-acceptance, and finding one's place in the world. A masterfully woven intrigue, the plot of Dark Island is a complex labyrinth of lies, deceit, hidden motives, and unexpected twists. Aubrey expertly interweaves past and present, demonstrating how long-forgotten, seemingly resolved crimes continue to poison lives and ruin destinies in the present day. He skillfully leads the reader, constantly dropping new clues and diverting from the truth, keeping you in suspense until the very last page. Be prepared for your theories to crumble one by one. Realistic and vivid characters. Beyond Freya, all the novel's characters, from the cynical but ultimately kind-hearted Jill, to the world-weary Inspector Muir, and the loving but burdened Tom, are realistically portrayed, with their strengths and weaknesses, their internal conflicts and aspirations. This makes their interactions convincing and vibrant, adding emotional depth to the story. Social commentary. The book also touches upon important social themes related to how small, isolated communities can harbor terrible secrets, and how the power of tradition, fear, and complicity can impede justice. It makes you reflect on how far people are willing to go to protect their secrets. Language and style. Aubrey employs rich yet concise language that perfectly suits the somber atmosphere. He masterfully plays with the narrative pace, accelerating it at the most critical moments, and slowing down to allow the reader to delve into Freya's psychological reflections. Dark Island is more than just a gripping thriller. It's a deep, immersive exploration of human psychology, atmosphere, and the dark corners of the human soul, where the truth can be the most terrifying monster. It's a story about how the past never truly dies, and how one brave woman, using her unique abilities, is willing to uncover the deepest and most horrifying secrets buried beneath layers of time and the cold northern earth. What are your first impressions of this extended recap? Are you ready to dive into this chilling story? Share your thoughts in the comments below, give it a like if you found this recap compelling, and of course, subscribe to the channel so you don't miss out on more exciting literary deep dives.